the center of Utah is its secret 6th national park, the San Rafael Swell, and for the next 3 days we're exploring it. I know it's a little odd, but we're starting this trip already camped out in one of the most incredible places in the desert, Buckhorn Wash. Yesterday was a long driving day to get here, but I just had to spend the night camped here. The raw beauty of this canyon carved into the rim of the swell is worth dedicating an entire trip on its own. Now we start the 3-day journey. We're going to drive the entire length of the San Rafael Swell from the north rim to the south end. But we aren't taking the easy way, a main road going down the middle that you could drive a passenger car in about 4 hours. We're taking the old side tracks and more technical off-road routes to get to the really interesting stuff off the beaten path. What is the swell? Picture the Earth's crust being pushed up like a giant dome, then the top eroded away, leaving this enormous badland the size of Rhode Island made up of a jagged ring of Navajo sandstone and canyons. And buried in these canyons are traces of the oldest residents, the prehistoric people who left behind the incredible 2,000-year-old Barrier Canyon-style pictographs. That's the mission, a massive geological structure, deep off-road history, and a chance to get away from everyone. In fact, just because everybody else is out at dispersed sites, I paid $15 to get this entire canyon to myself. First breakfast, and then we start the climb. Started here at the group campground at the north end of the Buckhorn Wash. This area was also kind of where they set up when they were doing the MK tunnels. So a little story about these MK tunnels. Stands for Morrison Knudsen. It was the name of the company that was doing the drilling on them. It does have to do with the development of NORAD in Colorado. So what was going on, before they built it, they were testing out places where the rock was strong enough to be able to withstand a nuclear attack. And one of the places that was on the short list for building this giant underground complex was right here in the San Rafael Swell. They would drill the tunnel back into there, put a load of dynamite on the rock on top, blow it up, and see how it would hold up. The idea being is, would it be able to withstand a nuclear attack? This one, I don't believe they did an explosion on this one, but there's a few more up in the canyons here where they did do the explosions. There's big giant craters above it, and you used to be able to go in them, but obviously because they were trying to collapse them and see what it took to collapse them, they're not very safe in there and they've been closed off now. But it's a little piece of Cold War history from when the United States was trying to find a place to protect itself. Also up here we can really get a feel for how the terrain is transitioning. This whole area, along the back here, you can see this ridge. That's Cedar Mountain. And then there's this flat field, and you come out to here and the rock layer starts to pop up and get progressively deeper and deeper as we go in. And we'll kind of go through this canyon as it gets deeper. Although at this point it is actually going downwards a little bit. We'll hit the river where we hit the low spot, and then you rise back up onto the San Rafael Swell. This area up here where you're up close to the plains above, great place to see antelope. And it was actually just up one of these side canyons that I saw some desert bighorns for the first time a few years ago. This entire route through Buckhorn Wash was once part of the Old Spanish Trail. From the 1820s to the 1840s, traders used this wash as the pack mule highway between Santa Fe and California. But the canyon story is much older. Next to these unfortunate bullet holes are some interesting Fremont Indian era petroglyphs. The Fremont Indians were in this area around 700 to 1300 AD. These towering Fremont cottonwoods are the lifeblood of this canyon. They are the largest trees in Utah's deserts and a sign of the constant water below the surface. In this arid environment, they are a keystone species, providing critical shade, nesting habitat, and stabilizing these stream banks with their massive roots. They depend entirely on the river's water cycle. Their seeds only germinate on the fresh, moist mud left behind by a spring flood. Buckhorn wash pictographs have to be my favorite, second favorite in the whole world. But even right here in the parking lot, you got petroglyphs from the Fremont people. Guy holding a long snake, guy with a long snake biting him. When the sun's directly on them like this, it's a little harsh. It's not quite as easy to see as when they're in the shade later in the day. Like this guy right here, coming out of the top of his head. It's like all these shapes and characters. It's like they're his dreams. This one right here where it seems like a snake comes up over this little ridge and its head is on the other side. And then of course these guys, usually referred to as the rain angels. At that point it happens to be where water runs down from above. And then in this U-shaped cubby hole, a bunch of other guys. And what an absolutely beautiful setting for all this. Back before that I had the nice parking lot, they just had a pull off. And used to be you'd take the little steps over, just pull alongside the road and step over here. Much nicer with the parking lot. I think it's funny that right here where it talks about vandalism is right next to a rock covered in vandalism. We are currently driving through the Wingate Sandstone Formation. The sheer scale of these cliffs is why the San Rafael Swell is nicknamed Utah's Little Grand Canyon. Deeper down, the San Rafael River cuts right across the entire uplift. It's an ancient waterway that actually predates the swell itself. The San Rafael River is an antecedent river. It was actually cutting its way through a flat plain when the land started to rise. But because erosion happened faster than the land rose, it kept cutting through the heart of the swell, even as the swell rose around it. San Rafael Bridge was built in 1937, mainly for people who were grazing out here on the swell. It basically sits at the end of Buckhorn Draw, right as you come out of the canyon. There's some nice campgrounds here. You get these amazing slick rock walls, and this is kind of where the rim of the swell surrounds the flatlands up above. Now, I say flatlands, it obviously doesn't look like it. There's Window Blind and Assembly Hall Peak over here. But generally the terrain gets much flatter and more rolling hills from this point on. So this bridge kind of marks a big transition in the trip where, as we've been going through these gorgeous slick rock cliffs, we're about to switch to the highlands of the Swell, which is kind of this rolling, hilly, there's still mountains, or still these mesas and stuff on it, but we're out of the canyons that make the rim of the Swell. I forget when they quit using this. It was like 1980s or something. It lasted quite a while. And the suspension bridge comes to these big buckles, anchoring it into the concrete. Dude is just fearless. In the summer, the lizards are just everywhere in the desert. It's amazing how many different types of lizards live out here. San Rafael River here is also really nice. It runs down from the mountains to the east, or I'm sorry, to the west. Basically the Wasatch Mountains up by Skyline Drive that I drove a long time ago. Runs down out of those mountains, crosses through the Swell, comes out the other side and heads off down into Lake Powell and onto Colorado River in California. I know that people have also, they don't raft down this, it's people will do pack rafting trips down this river. Once again, probably for the last time until sometime tomorrow, we get a feel for just the immensity of these cliffs. Just realized I really need to put suntan lotion on before we go any further. Redheads do not do well in this weather. Just relaxing in the shade. So far, the trip we've been on is pretty much on the main road, but pretty quick here we're going to take a side trip to a little mining area and then from there into much more off-road area. But yeah, enjoying our lunchtime break. I'm not sure when we'll see trees again. This area that I'm going to is all new, so I don't know what they have at all. Here we got these nice big cottonwoods to relax under, but it might be a little bit drier once we get going. No longer in the canyons. There's a few giant mesas out there, but the land itself is this rolling hills and plains. As we climb higher into the Swell, the history shifts from ancient pictographs to the Cold War again. These ruins are remnants of the Utah uranium boom of the 1950s. During the atomic arms race, prospectors flooded the area using Geiger counters to hunt for yellow cake uranium ore. They literally fueled the nuclear age. The wooden hopper you see was used to gravity feed the ore into trucks before it was hauled away for processing. Today these mines are sealed. This is partially due to physical collapse, but mostly due to the hidden danger, radon gas. This radioactive decay product of uranium poses a major lung cancer risk, making these tunnels too hazardous to enter. Well, we're at one of the uranium mines. I gotta look up the name of which it was. It's kind of cool because it has a couple of wrecked cars. I'm curious which is going to make a better picture with the backdrop, but I mean, how's that? That's kind of classic, right? Also got my Geiger counter just to see what we're getting. At home I get average about, 30 clicks per minute? We're at 62 right now. Makes the Geiger counter get crazy. Must have been a little loading spot, so a lot of ore probably fell on the ground here. When I was by Arches, we were hitting about 400 by one of the old cave mouths. Getting 380 here, not bad. Yeah, this is a cool old truck. Nice old truck. Yeah. We're going to set up and take a picture. And now we finally come to the remnants of Calf Mesa Uranium Mine, which records show that it was active into the 1980s. The debris field tells a story of a very sudden close. Look closely at the cliff face, you can still see the anchored cable going up the canyon wall. That was part of the tram system they used to lower the heavy ore down to the valley floor for loading. Chunks of equipment, concrete footings, old barrels, and metal still litter the ground. This area was clearly a primary loading spot, which explains the high radiation readings we saw earlier. While I can't be a fan of the pollution and junk left behind, it's hard to argue with the stunning views they enjoyed while working on the edge of the swell. Check out that little mushroom rock. Just barely hanging on. We're heading over to the bulldozer to take some pictures again. It's a hot day considering it was in the upper 30s this morning. This is the scenic bulldozer, and as I came up to it, the wind just suddenly decided to go crazy. Just perched, got the best little overlook of the area, but we'll zoom in as much as possible. Right in the center of the screen, there's kind of a tan triangle. I believe that's the Wickiup, but we're going to swing around that. Once we get around that, we'll kind of be to the easy part of the trail again. In the meantime, we're going to be traveling through this whole little valley, all the way down, cut across, around the point there and out. Oh, the wind's died down already. All right, let's figure out a picture. Well, that wasn't the most successful picture of the bulldozer. I mean, it works. I think I got the pictures I wanted, but I got in a hurry because the clouds were changing and wasted two shots of film before I finally got it on the third. And when you're doing sheet film, you know, it's a $1.50, $2 a pop. When you hurry and you rush things, things don't work out right. Just a little reminder, if you're in a hurry, you're probably going to end up costing yourself more time than if you stop, calm down, think about what you're doing, and move through slowly and methodically, especially out here when you're on your own. Take things slow and steady. There's no rush. It's a lot safer to just take your time, and you lose less nice photos when you do that too. Well, we are at getting back onto the main road from the Dozer Road. From now, we're into areas I've never been before. We're gonna go down Cane Wash. The day's half over and the trail fatigue's starting to set in. Even when you don't go that far, or just it's the time driving, not the distance, especially if it's bumpy and shaky and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll get through this next section, head up past the Wickiup, and start looking for camp. Anyway, let's get going. Straight ahead is the trail as per Gaia GPS, Google, Onyx. They all say to go straight here, but no, we travel this way according to the BLM, which Yeah, they're definitely trying to recover that area. Cane Wash has been beautiful, and the firm road has been great for a little speed, but suddenly, the trail is wet and we take a break in the ride. This isn't just leftover rain from the storms earlier, this is one of the rare desert springs. You can see the dramatic change in the ecology. This small area is immediately lush and green, a sign of the lifeblood of the desert. This water under the surface is exactly the same kind of thing that kept the desert cottonwoods we saw earlier alive. In a survival situation, this is an oasis. You can see from the white mineral deposits everywhere that this water is high in salts and chemicals, but with some purification, this is water, a very dear resource in this land. All right, let's keep going. I love this big rock monolith. So many things like that that are just so ordinary out here. Just a big giant tower in the middle of nowhere. Might have a name, might not. I don't know. What would you name that? It's very castle-like to me. It's got kind of the main central tower and then the wall around it. What was one of the castles from Monty Python, I think. Except this one's not just a model. So this was interesting and probably kind of new because, I mean, there's still tire tracks going over here. They're a little worn. Obviously this is the bypass everybody's been doing up onto the ridge. It's very sharp, kind of I mean, my truck made it around and this truck has the turning radius of a full size, so just kind of cracked out of here. I mean, it's obviously always getting undercut, but it just split right out of that hole. It must have stuck out quite a bit because this is a kind of a big triangle to go in that little triangle. I noticed some ripples on the rocks, and obviously by the layering, this was, laid down as sediment at some point. Look at those rocks right here. Just perfect ripples. Fresh, revealed only for maybe a few weeks or a month or maybe even days. Oh, the texture of it. It feels just like when you're on the shore of a lake or something that just has those fine ripples. I did download some bedrock geology layers, so we might be able to identify what age these rocks are. Cane wash has been amazing. It's a lot of sand, but I'm running at 18 PSI and it's great. It's actually really comfortable at 18 PSI. Nothing where I ever felt like I was bogging down. Those deep sand traps just felt like I was driving on clouds. It was perfect. The good thing about the wash though is that everything just every time there's a big rainstorm that's enough to fill it, it'll basically erase everybody's tire tracks and redo everything. Yeah, we're still quite a ways from the main road. We're going to head to Oil Well Flat and then back onto the road that passes the Wickiup, and this is just a little short connector that'll get us back up on the Highlands. From this overlook, you can clearly see the ground we've covered. We came up from the deep wash below, following the base of these immense Navajo sandstone cliffs all the way to this higher plateau. Our route now takes us across Oil Well Flat, aiming towards the large triangular formation in the distance known as the Wickiup. The Wickiup marks our exit point for the northern half of the swell. It's time to head out across the flatlands. Sign up. Love having cameras. I mean, a spotter. Ooh, spotter is always the best, but need to get rid of those step rails though. Tore the piece of plastic off the back step rail. Hit right there and just popped it right off. Gotta hate those things. So this is the main road. If we hadn't have split off after the suspension bridge and gone out to the bulldozer and everything down Cane Creek, we would have been coming down on this road. Now it's not paved all the way up there, but it is a really nice, really fast road. Not a survey corner, what? Oh, that was a benchmark survey. This is the sagebrush bench demonstration plot. What that means is they fence it off so no animals can get in. So deer and antelope are able to hop over, but cows are not able to get in here. So these two plots are basically untouched by cows since 1937 and 1961. And you can actually notice it when you fly over it. They're a lot more lush and they've got a lot more growing on them. It really goes to show how much cattle can impact the land. I don't know why this sinkhole is here, but yeah, there's just a big sinkhole. There was a few other little divots, so I wonder if there's just like some underground cave system. Looks like it's mostly filled with sagebrush. I'm just gonna go up to this rise here because it looks like a beautiful view, and then turn around and heading back to Locomotive Point, the head of the Sinbad, and our camp for the night. A common sight in the swell is the wild burro. They aren't native, but they are living relics of the American West, descended from burros brought here by Spanish explorers and later by miners. Today, the San Rafael Swell is managed by the BLM as part of the Wild Horse and Burro Territory. They're tough survivors, but they compete with the native wildlife for scarce water and forage, adding a bit of a challenge to this fragile desert ecosystem. This trail starts out on one side of the freeway but has to cross to the other side. Looks like it's not too eroded, although this side of it is. Holy cow. This side got pretty bad and they stacked some rocks for it. Hopefully it's enough. That's pretty wicked. We'll go slow on this. I don't want to contact the bottom. Huh? No contact. That's good. Okay, Head of Sinbad Pictographs. We've reached the first of two rock art panels at the head of Sinbad. This area holds some of the oldest history of the swell, left by the mysterious Barrier Canyon people. These are true ancient masterpieces, dating back 2,000 to 4,000 years. Notice how the figures are worn and flaking, but the details are still visible, like the small feathers of these flying birds. Many of these anthropomorphic figures are headless or their tops have simply flaked away over the millennia. It leaves you wondering about the ceremonies or figures that they represented. But the mystery only makes the art more captivating. This is my favorite pictograph of all time, ever. You can just see it between the trees there. We're in the area, this is referred to as Sinbad country. This area is usually called the Head of Sinbad. So a lot of times this is called the Head of Sinbad Pictographs. It's just amazing. Likely thousands of years old, and it remains with that level of detail. The one guy on the left looks like he's bowing down with the snake above his head, and always the circle and a snake. Just amazing. But if we come over here, well, I think that's the most stylistically cool. This one just blows me away with the amount of detail that it has. Get a loot of these two guys. I like them because the one on the left looks like E.T. Wouldn't it be cool if it meant the aliens did visit and they are all real and this is the proof? I don't really believe that, but it would be fun. But check out the brush strokes on these guys. I really like these little birds in between. They look like rubber chickens. But the detail on them is just amazing. Same with if we move up here, you can see the brush strokes coming off of those circles. He's got kind of a carved circle in his chest, a headdress that looks like it's got little birds flying around it. And then all these possibly birds, circles with wings, I don't know. E.T. here, looks like he was symmetrical. He used to have another arm and another snake that's been covered up by the mud. And there is also a possibility of more guys down here under the mud. There's some red hidden under there, especially right here next to his feet. Maybe there were three shapes at one time, and E.T. was the center point. Just has a very spooky, ghastly look. So that's my favorite rock art ever, up here in the San Rafael Swell. There's a lot of other really cool panels, but I just think the details of that just blow me away every time I see it. To think it's so old. It's older than a lot of the petroglyphs you see chipped in the rock. And some of the oldest in this area. Just incredible. And it's such a beautiful area. Basically the high point of the San Rafael Swell up here in the middle. There might be a few mountains straight ahead that are the absolute high point, but just all the land up here is higher than pretty much everything else. The rocks over there, they look like some alien city or something. I don't know. It's hard to describe it. Just petrified city from the future. Anyway, we gotta go set up camp and find a place to sleep. Thanks for joining on this incredible first day. We broke through the barrier of the reef, explored some Cold War history, speculated on some 4,000-year-old rock art, but this is just the beginning of the traverse. Next we'll be seeing arches, old mines, arches, old petroglyphs, big arches, and some wildlife. Please like, comment, and subscribe to be notified when the next video comes out. And thanks again for watching.